Hey, everybody. It's Matt Michaels here on the DeFalco Files with the owner and creator of FSW, the future stars of wrestling here in Las Vegas, Mr. Joe DeFalco. Joe, how you doing this week?
I'm doing a little better right now since Wendy Williams is a repeat. The Olympics, so at least I got something to watch.
Um, you mentioned Olympics. Have you been following the Olympics?
Yeah, when I want to watch regular TV and not my 47 streaming services, I've been really enjoying shockingly, like the beach volleyball and the regular volleyball. Like, man, these people are insane. Like,
Yeah.
I remember playing volleyball in high school, and it's like, man, if you can get the ball back and forth 2 or 3 times, 6-on-6 or 5-on-5, especially the United States, since there's a guy named DeFalco is one of the main guys on the volleyball team. So of course I got to see how my cousin's doing. You know what I mean?
Holy macro, man. I was at physical therapy. I'm working out, and they had it on the TV. And out of the corner of my ear, I keep hearing DeFalco, DeFalco, DeFalco. And I'm like,
yeah, same here. I was like, and then all of a sudden, like, did he say what I think? And then I saw the back of the jersey, and I'm like, oh, representing.
Oh, man. Did you immediately hop on USAolympics.com and order the volleyball jersey?
No, but now that you mention it, how getting a DeFalco jersey, I think he's number 8. That was one of my early favorite numbers in baseball when I was growing up. I transitioned to number 13 because nobody wanted it, so I had to be number 13 all the time. But 8 was my original number.
Did 8 come from anything? Was it a Yogi Berra thing, or how did
no
that?
idea. I just like that number. I don't know why. Yeah. Maybe the curvature of the circles. I couldn't tell you.
Well, you know what? It makes sense considering that you're known for your 8-man matches.
There you go, mate. That's where it got started. It was always 8 in my head, 8-man tag.
Speaking of matches, High Octane is coming up this Saturday, I believe it is, on the FSW network, $6.99 a month for the network. This is another great lineup that's going to be shining through your TV sets. Let me ask you, Joe, what are we expecting out of this particular show? And will any of this be set up for things coming up for SummerSlam weekend, or is it basically setting things up for after SummerSlam?
Yeah, we're putting all the eggs in the basket of Survival of the Fittest, which looks like it's going to be September 24th. So being that SummerSlam weekend, there's no FSW standalone matches to progress storylines. Tomorrow, Saturday's the last shot we got for a month. And then we'll have one more show, probably, I believe, September 3rd. And both of those will fully set up, everything for Survival of the Fittest.
And what do we have coming up with matches on Saturday for High Octane?
Well, we've seen it with our heavyweight champion Hammerstone, and he's been involved with the MK Army. And the former tag champs reunite, Hammerstone and Graves, as they're going to take on Toa and Tito.
Whoa.
We're going to reinforce the ring there. Thank goodness Juicy won't be around. Tito has a victory over Graves. Graves has a victory over Toa. Those guys have gone back and forth. Both of those guys, Toa and Tito, they want a piece of Hammerstone. They've kind of lit him up when he refused to join the MK Army. So, we're just trying to, keep the momentum going, with that little feud that we got going on.
Yeah, and Hammerstone, not only FSW champion, but got won the big Oh, I forget what they
Battle
call it.
Riot. Battle Riot.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So he's been on a roll, and he's looking just. Let's put it this way: are you going to have your FSW champion very much longer? Because I think he's headed to greener pastures within the next couple months. Yeah.
No, because he signed a pretty
Long.
long-term deal with MLW again. So, as we've seen, MLW, as long as we don't have conflicting dates, he's able to commit. The reason why we're doing September 24th is because he was already booked the 25th. So we obviously wanted to have our champion. I know last time at Survival of the Fittest, he couldn't make it, because he blew us off to go to Japan. So, it's like, whatever, that's what you need to do. But, the idea is to definitely have him involved on the 24th. So,
With the anticipation of this kind of intensity for a match with four really strong guys, really big guys, does this kind of is this a good way, like would you look at it as almost like the old Saturday night's main event where you'd have Andre and Hogan tagging together against Volkov and the Sheik? Is it that kind of just that elevation of one of those main events that people can just really get into because of the fact that you have two guys so beloved and two guys who are absolutely great monster heels?
No, because nobody expects Andre and Hogan to lose when they wrestle Volkov and Sheik.
Right.
Hammer Graves against Tito and Toa, there's definitely questions on, who's going to win that match. Any of those guys can pin any one of the other guys. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
For me, it's more anticipation. I'm excited for that. I was like trying to put the card together, and I'm like, hey, this makes the perfect sense of what we're doing. Juicy hasn't really been around. He'll be here SummerSlam weekend, but again, there's no standalone FSW shows. But that's why MK built an army. He'll randomly, pay EC3 to come in, and then unfortunately that didn't work out. But if you think MK is done with just Tito, Toa, and Juicy, you're out of your mind.
Sure. Along the lines of making a card, we have such a cool main event like that. What other matches will be going on, and what are we looking for in terms of finality? Are we getting some blow-offs? Are we getting some setups? What does it look like?
Well, Death Proof, they're looking for some challengers. They've kind of beaten a lot of the teams, but recently the Suavecitos have gotten hot. So instead of just doing a regular tag match, Adrian Quest will be on hand, who's now the third member of the Suavecitos. So even though he's the third member, he's really kind of the leader of the Suavecitos. And
Sure.
I felt, after his return last week at Future Shock, Thomas Day's back and looking as good as ever. So we're going to do a 6-man tag, Death Proof and Thomas Day against the Suavecitos. So, that's another exciting match,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, and boy, those tag belts better be close by, or else, win or lose, the Suavecitos will end up taking the gold with them.
Well, being in a 6-man, the tag titles aren't on the line, but yeah, you do got to be worried that they might steal them.
Yeah. And is there anything going on with either ICE with the No Limits Championship or Nevada State?
The faction will be in the house. Not positive what's going on. The rumor is Chris Bay will also be at the arena on Saturday. We got a new talent that wrestled some shows in Vegas. from out of state. I'm not even sure where he's from. Big dude, man, Jackson Stone, and he's going to be wrestling Hero Lou. So that's another, man. If you like heavyweight matches, you know, we got some good ones there. And then a really exciting match. Jordan Cruz was back last week. He's back again this week, trying to keep the momentum going. And Jordan Cruz is going one-on-one with Wise Guy, which
Nice.
you know, might actually end up being a three-way with Jordan Oasis. You know, we're kind of, you know, three of the up-and-coming guys that a victory from any of those three kind of helps them out as, you know, they're trying to get their face seen on more FSW shows. So, you know, Class is going to be there. Remy Marcel's going to be there. You know, what happens with them in the same building? We know Class seems to have stepped it up in his ideas of possibly cashing in.
Yeah. Let me ask you too about, you know, you mentioned Jordan Oasis, you mentioned opportunities. Jordan actually has moved to Vegas recently to do more pursuing of training here, as well as going over to Rikishi's school. How important is it for a young talent to come to, you know, to be around the school they want to be around, to work with the people that they feel are pushing them? How important is that in their journey to you know, discover themselves and become a better performer in general?
Well, it's extremely important because, as you know, I get shit tons of emails, Facebook messages of people that want to get on an FSW show. Okay. And a guy like Jordan Oasis, he hits us up and it's like, yeah, you're out of state. We're not going to fly you in. You don't have any name value. And it budget wise, it's just impossible. And here's a guy who made his way out here hungry for an opportunity. And then he got an opportunity. Watson is the same way. Watson was the guy who came with the Arizona crew, and they would come help out and set up the ring. And finally, when a spot was open, instead of going to find somebody, I'm like, hey, you hear good things about this guy. Let's give him a shot. And again, when Hammerstone, Graves, Gallo, Dom, the Phoenix crew say, hey, we got this kid Class that we know, you know, he's extremely talented. You know, he's going to hit you up about a future shock. You know, that's a no-brainer. You know, in most cases, they're not going to shit the bed. They're not going to put their stamp of approval on a guy that isn't all in. So when guys like Jacob Austin Young moved here to train, and Chris Bay moved here to train, and then you got other guys that are always trying to come in and they want to be seen and they want to get an opportunity. You know, Jordan Cruz, he's always on there, and we love Jordan Cruz. It's just trying to find spots. You know, him and Mike Rain had a tremendous match on Saturday. You know, I goof with Mike Rain a lot, but it was like, bro, this is the first time I've ever said match of the night goes to Mike Rain, you know, because Mike Rain's that solid veteran utility guy who he's going to push a Hero Lou like he did. But, you know, him and Jordan Cruz, boy, they had really, really good chemistry. And, you know, Jordan's not the tallest guy, and Mike Rain's a big boy. You know, he's an ox, you know. And, you know, they had an excellent match. And, you know, Jordan Cruz is a guy, Brandon Gatz and Eli Everfly, you know, that we want to get on there as much as possible. You know, we just got word, and he's going to be at SummerSlam weekend. Trey Lamar moved to LA, and Trey Lamar is going to be a guy that, you know, man, that No Limits division, Ice Williams, thank God he's got three other guys to help watch behind his back, because guys like Trey and Eli Everfly and Jay Vidal and Matt Vandergriff, and who knows with Damian Drake coming back soon enough? Who knows? You know, and they still got Gregory Sharp and Gatson. That No Limits division is loaded, and we're looking forward to doing that Limitless tournament down the line. You know, the guy, he made his debut at PWG that we've been high on for a while, Jack Cartwheel. You know, this is getting booked everywhere. You know, it's like, Christ, it's kind of difficult. You know, this guy in the mix, man, he is unbelievably athletic, you know, and unfortunately, even SummerSlam weekend, he won't be out here. He'll be wrestling in Mexico, you know, and GCW has been using him in different spots, and they're bringing him into the shows on the East Coast because, you know, they see how talented he is.
Right. Yeah, it's very interesting, and talent goes a long way. So does developing that talent. And today we're gonna bring a little special guest on. We're gonna be joined by Mazzerati, someone who has definitely come a long way and developed her talent and skills. And
she was terrible.
We'll be joined by her in just a little bit. Shout out, Joe. I don't know if you saw on social media, but Doomfly finally got married.
Yes, I did see that. And I guess Delilah's really been enjoying the honeymoon stuff because I've been left on, I don't even know if it's even been read for the last 5 days. You know, we're trying to get the Doomfly reunion at the FSW Women show.
Sure.
So we're still waiting because Eli's going to be here. He'll be part of the FSW GCW show. And even though we haven't announced it yet, Eli Everfly will be making his Natural Born Killers debut.
Woo! Oh man. That's exciting. Because he, you know, I think that's the funniest thing about him. People don't realize that for all the, you know, high flying and dangerous stuff he'll do, man, he can actually wrestle. So that should be really, really interesting.
You know, I want to see him and Juicy. I know it happens somewhere. You know, I'd like it to happen.
Oh man, that would be, yeah. Oh, and no guardrails too. So if you know, Juicy takes a tumble, first row is pretty much out, right?
Yeah, we might have a couple extra front rows available for the rest of the show if we put it on early.
And speaking of SummerSlam weekend, how are the cards coming along for Natural Born Killers, GCW versus FSW, as well as the FSW Women show? Has it been a lot of back and forth? Are you getting some final commitments? Are you ready to start announcing matches within the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, well, being the show's in less than 3 weeks, we better start making an announcement before the next couple of weeks. We just got Jake Something from Impact. He's going to be at Natural Born Killers. You know, he's been, you know, he's truly a buzzworthy wrestler this past year. And, you know, he's a big boy. And unfortunately, Chris Dickinson won't be available because Ring of Honor is also doing their own pay-per-view on SummerSlam weekend.
Right.
They got the 2 nights, Friday and Saturday. So we were looking at penciling in Tom Lawler against Chris Dickinson in the main event. But right now, you know, 6'2", 260, Jake Something and Tom Lawler, you know, that might be the go-to match. You know, right. We're also still, you know, discussing with TJ Perkins if he's available. I know he has a show at Warrior the next day. And being that we got that 11 o'clock start, we're trying to figure everything out if it's going to be, you know, feasible. So right. The thing is, we got these shows, but they're all so different. You got the Natural Born Killers, you know, that's going to be, you know, MMA oriented. We got Ryan Walker again, who was at Bellator, Dave Mazzani, EFC, you know, he's going to be on the card. Like I said, Eli Everfly, Like, if you come on and listen to the podcast, you know, I'm more than happy to put out information that might take a few days to get on, you know, the Twitter, because we got to make the flyers and stuff. And
Right.
it's like, you know, it's kind of like, you know, the hidden bonuses, you know, that you get on back in the day on the DVDs, the extras.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Easter eggs.
Right, exactly. So it's like, you know, there's no reason to hide something that's going to be, you know, it's 18 days away. You know, Natural Born Killers is 17 days away. And, you know, and now we just really announced the Alliance show, which right now is with No Peace Underground. We're looking at a couple other companies to represent, you know, definitely different than the FSW GCW show where it's us versus them, you know, pick a side, you
Right.
know. And last night, you know, I talked with Brett at GCW, and we really put together, you know, the card. And I'll announce it here first. The main event is going to be a tag team match with two guys who've never teamed up as part of FSW. Cutthroat Cody and Funny Bone are going to team up against AJ Gray and Nick Gage.
Jesus.
So that's the main event.
Are you gonna have like ambulances on site, for God's sake?
Yeah, we're going to need them for the fans. We might have to, hey, instead of wearing face masks, they're going to have to wear the shields, you know, to sit in the front row. You know, that might actually be a good idea. We could sell shields.
Yeah.
To make an extra profit on that.
Well, considering, I mean, the bump that Gage took on AEW through the pane of glass, the glass just, I mean, it went over the guardrails into the audience, and that's, you know, a big size arena. I can't imagine how crazy it's going to be around all the fans.
Yeah, we're going to probably say, let's bring a lot of doors. You know,
yeah,
I'm a little nervous myself when it comes to the light tubes and stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? As much as you'll try to look under the ring and make sure there are no light tubes in the house, somehow, some way, light tubes are just going to magically show up. You know it.
Yeah, they're actually still in the back of the arena from when GCW was here a couple months ago. So we're gonna have to, like, you know, instead of leaving them there, change out the lights in the office. That way, those light tubes are gone.
Yeah, it's it's amazing how quick the office lighting just went out. So
well, yeah, it was kind of dark. If you know, when you saw it a couple weeks ago,
yeah,
well, those lights weren't working too well.
And as far as the women's show, there anything standing out right now? Any new names, or are you still trying to lock people in?
No, you know, the card hasn't been set, but you know, we know, you know, we could talk with Maz since she's going to be on. Obviously, she's going to be in the main event of the women's show. Sandra Moon will be there. Strella will be there. You know, someone I'm very high on, Christy James, will be there. Viva Van's going to be there. Bryn Thorne's going to be there. Vert Vixen from AEW is going to be there. Jocelyn Navarro, who worked at the other women's show we did from OVW, will be there. So it's going to definitely be stacked with talent. It's like CC Chanel will be there. It's kind of like you're talking to so many people. Like, I got to go through my Facebook messengers to see which women I hit up and said they were good for that date, because there's so much confusion on, hey, I'm available for this date. Hey, I'm available for that date. And, oh, yeah, I can do this. And it's like, okay, did I confirm or did we just talk about it? You know what I mean? And, you know, that's happened in the past where the guy said he was good and I thought we confirmed. And then all of a sudden the show's call time. It's like, where is this motherfucker? And you just said, and I told you I was open and you never got back to me. And you look at it and you're like, yeah, I guess so. There's so many messages. And especially now when you're dealing with 4 shows, 3 different companies, and, like the different styles. Tom Lawler's a really difficult man to lock down in conversation, as is Brett and GCW, and it's like, same thing with No Peace. It's like, you're just waiting, like, hey, what are we doing? What's going on? Hey, they put their tickets out on their thing and they called the show something different. And it's like, it's a collaboration show, bro. It's like, it needs to have one name.
Right.
You want to sell tickets through your site, cool, but people need to know what's going on. It's not going to be a 3-card show with just your 3 matches, one giant show. And, their main match is EC3 against Matt Justice, and then they got Chris Bay and Atticus Cougar, and Jay Vidal is going to take on Treehouse Lee, who I guess they got involved when Jay made his debut at No Peace in Florida. So, we're trying to put together, some things that normally you might not get at an FSW show with talent working each other. We're trying to make everything as different as possible, because, our fans are going to be burnt out. They can't come to every show, but we give them an incentive that makes them really want to go to every show. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck, I don't want to miss this show. This 4-way is awesome. Oh, this is a good match. It's like, we already have 3 matches announced and it's only through No Peace. And 2 of the matches feature 2 of our main guys. So I don't even need to book Jay Vidal and Chris Bay, which they're probably happy because they're probably getting paid way more than I would have paid them. So, and that's
there's probably just a tiny bit of a difference there.
I'm pretty sure they were like, oh yeah, no, I can't work your show on the Sunday, because they knew they were going to go work somebody else's for way more money. The nerve. Where's the loyalty?
Oh man. With that said, we're getting ready here for Mazzerati.
Oh boy, coming off that big that big performance in Ring of Honor.
Oh, we're definitely going to talk about that. And she, again, to remind everyone, she's the FSW champion. If you're not familiar with her, FSW Women's champion, I should say. She has been the Ohio Valley Women's champion as well, and is doing some great things. Like Joe mentioned, she was just on Ring of Honor, and unfortunately didn't win that first round match for the Ring of Honor Women's Championship tournament. But man, what a lot of promise, and one hell of a performer. And joining us right now is the FSW Women's Champion. Easy for me to say, Mazzerati. Maz, how you doing?
Hello. I'm doing better than ever. Busy as a bee. But that's what happens when you're such a big star like me.
Joe, what were your thoughts on Mazzerati's match on Ring of Honor this past week?
I did not see it, but I've heard very good things.
So, I'm not surprised you didn't see it.
I'm very busy putting together lots of things going on over the next 3 weeks. So I did not check out the match, but I saw they were doing the review of the show. So I checked it out, and it was good to see that Maz got some very, very positive reviews for her performance.
How's that atmosphere like for you, Mazzerati, when you go into a locker room that isn't FSW's, especially something as prominent as the talents in ROH are? Is it a very accepting place? Do you feel comfortable? What is it like for you now that you're getting these opportunities?
Actually, besides my home FSW, to be honest, Ring of Honor has always been my favorite locker room. Everyone's always so great. It's not like you're walking on eggshells. If you have a question, they're willing to help. There's no cattiness against the girls, which is amazing because, you know, it's hard to get that any other place. There's always one girl just having to be like attitude against somebody, and it's just annoying. But when I go to Ring of Honor, it's just like family there, and I love it.
Joe, do you remember the first time you met Mazzerati?
Not really. I don't remember, but I remember when we first put them together, when her and Bugatti, and we had the idea that once she makes it really big and makes a lot of money, I have the copyright to the name Maserati because so I need to make sure, I get a cut since she always never paid dues pretty much. At least I can get some back end residuals for when she makes it big time using the name Maserati.
Damn, Joe, you got to out me like that? Damn.
So, well, Maz, what's your recollection since Joe doesn't remember meeting you? What was
many hair colors ago? Yeah, that was shoot. That was back in the natural hair days. I remember Joe. It just seemed like he never cared about me. He never believed in me. You know what?
Well, you were terrible in the beginning. What do you want me to tell you?
I worked my way up. I scratched and clawed at every ring crew. I did everything I could to prove to you, Dad, make you accept me.
My first thought of her as a wrestler was she's a really good valet.
You were so lucky you were on the phone and not right here.
Well, with that, Maserati, when you did start and you were training, how difficult was it for you to kind of start picking things up? And what was the turning point for you in terms of when you realized, hey, not only can I do this, but I can be very good at this?
So I was always like, besides my party girl stage, I was always athletic and stuff. Because I did kickboxing, taekwondo, everything. Because I didn't know there was wrestling schools when I was a kid. But once I found one out here in Vegas, which was FSW, I thought it was amazing. I came in thinking, oh, I'm going to be Shayna Love. I'm going to be this badass high-flying girl like Lita, because the Hardy Boys and Lita have always been my inspiration of wanting to wrestle. And then, the training was a little bit more like the hitting the ropes, the bumping and stuff. You have to get used to that pain. But I've always been into pain. But, this is a whole bunch of like, oh, man, everyday type waking up like, oh, can I do this forever? And to me, I think, yes, I can. I was mad, though, when they first put me as ballet because I'm like, no, I'm ready. I'm ready. Good thing I started as ballet first because I was not ready.
Which is how most people feel when they get angry, they don't get their matches. Like this past week, Raw Reese finally got his first singles match. And, he's all mumbling and muttering like, what about me? What about me? And it's like, dude, you're not ready. Just because you think you're ready and just because you could do some good stuff in training, doing it in match in front of people, it's a totally different ball game. In training, you screw something up, we just do it again. You can't do that in real life, and, everybody feels that they're ready way before they're ready.
Yeah, I literally, I regret thinking I was ready a long time ago. So I was just battling for Nick Bugatti, but then I started getting opportunities to travel outside. And I was like, you know what? Joe's not booking me, so I'm going to go do something else and go and wrestle everywhere else. So I went and did my first out-of-town booking, and oh my gosh, it was the shit. And I look back at all the ones that I thought, oh yeah, I could go and do this. I'm ready. And I look now, I'm like, wow, I wasn't ready. What was I thinking? But you live and you learn. I'm a little hard-headed. People know that, and that's why I developed the female with attitude because, can't help it. I got an attitude.
Did the experience being a valet help that side of it? The aspect of kind of finding what the character is and being able to perform a little bit more so that when you now are using it in ring, it's just kind of a more complete character for you. Was that experience invaluable for you?
It did help me because it helped me learn the ring awareness around the ring while being a valet, learning the timings on things, just to get the feel on being right there to see the action, you know what I mean? And understanding why and where things are happening. So I highly recommend it because I know people get really mad when they're getting pushed into just being valet first or managing first. But if you're just starting out, I honestly would highly recommend it for you. You know what I mean? Like it's just every experience is helpful.
And also being so close to the fans, being aware of the fans, was that something that you were able to then utilize to kind of, you know, have more of a heelish aspect to your character, because it gives you the freedom essentially when fans are yelling stuff at you.
Mm-hmm. At first, I felt like a jerk when I first would say some things to them. I'm like, oh, I feel like, but then nowadays, like, you know, they say some things. I'm like, you know what? All right, I'm gonna snap back. And now I just love, you know, just being me. And I could say whatever I can because, you know, screw them kids over there that want to hate on me. I'll give them the right in their face.
Joe, is that an aspect of Maserati that you enjoy when you watch her perform? Is the fact that she really does take that time? She'll be in the middle of, you know.
I'm low-key his favorite.
What is it like for you, Joe, watching her work? And is that aspect of character something that you enjoy seeing, you know, on a regular basis? Because she does such a great job of having that moments, you know, the moments where she can say something to the crowd and then hit a move right after it. What is that like for you as a fan and as a promoter?
Well, the thing is with her that, you know, her character and her personality as a valet is exactly the same as it is as a wrestler. She didn't be like, oh, well, now I got to be different because now I'm wrestling full time. And she garnered a lot of heat early on. The one thing I got to say, which is usually surprising, is when our fans see somebody, and over the years, they grow an affection for that person because she's an FSW girl, you know, but no matter what, like they love to hate her, you know, it's like there's a difference between hatred and going along with everything. You know what I mean? And it's like with Maz, you know, the new thing now is everybody, because she's like this little chihuahua yapping all the time. And now every time she talks, everybody kind of like has those little chihuahua barks at her. And no matter what she does, she gets, you know, she gets all the heat. Like we put Strella with her, and it was the good bodyguard thing because Strella needed to get to a level to where she was capable of working in matches. So it's easy to protect her, especially with her size. With Maz's size, it's easy to kind of get her in there and then worry about pushing her later. While Strella, on the other hand, is so big, you don't want her going in there and getting beat up by Atlas Blair. And it's like, well, once you see that, it's hard to make her a monster after the fact. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, as the progression rose, you know, I really credit Maz going to China. Because before she left, I was never impressed with her wrestling, to be honest with you. You know, she was all right. You know, she's fine. Whatever. You know, we didn't have much of a division. And then Sandra Moon started kind of clicking and getting there. And then when Maz came back, she was a different person. And, you know, I don't know the experience she had there. I don't know if it's because she took it more serious because she saw, you know, what could be the future. But when she came back, she was so much better than before she left.
That's the nicest thing he's ever said to me.
Well, you know, well, before I didn't have anything good to say to you because I probably you didn't deserve it. You know? But she came back with a totally different demeanor, different attitude. And maybe it was because as the valet, when she did wrestle, she didn't take it as seriously as she did when she came back, because now it's like, yeah, she was still the valet for Bugatti, but she was now a full-time wrestler because we were actually bringing in more women and we were having more women on the shows. So, you know, combined with her getting different training and from what I understand, the training there was way different than the training at FSW. So, you know, there was a lot less in-ring stuff in China compared to having to bust your ass and do all the other stuff, while in FSW it's like, okay, let's go do a practice match when you're there. So,
Right.
you know, she can probably, you know, elaborate more on the China thing, but I think that's where the turning point was, in my opinion, for her.
Oh, thanks, Joe.
What was that like for you? Because I know that not only Joe, but I think, you know, some of the other guys like Remy and Cody would say the same thing, that China was the point where you just something clicked. What was that whole experience like for you?
So yes, okay, so let me kind of backspace a little bit. So for me, when I first started training, it was hard because you know, we had a women's class that was only once a week. So it was harder for us to learn. Plus, I'm one of 8 that actually stayed. All the girls are gone now. There was none of them. So they canceled a women's class. There was no women's class. Then I got thrown into the advanced. But at the time, there was a split going on. So there wasn't really trainers there, especially because they were out doing Ring of Honor, doing other types of stuff and training
Right.
other places. Then luckily they came back. And then that's when I started getting training in, and once they were there, we started getting more students, mainly guys, but it was just faster for everybody to train, get their experience now that we got the training.
Yeah.
I went through financial issues, quitting my jobs and stuff to try to maintain being in training, but it was hard to get it to click in the beginning. You know, I don't know why, because my matches, looking back, like I'm just like, wow, everybody makes fun of my frailly arms, how I'm like moving around the ring and stuff. But then I went to some injuries and stuff, unfortunately. So it was
Sure.
hard for me to keep consistently to like get my training in. And so it was just really rough. And then once I went to China, though, surprisingly, I went in with an injury and they didn't have any girls for me either there. So I was back battling for Nick again. But then I started training. I was just training there. All I did was rehab my knee. I had an issue with my shoulder. And so the doctor that was helping me, I was rehabbing, I was training and working out each day until I could get better, just running and doing spots for Nick's matches.
Sure.
And Zeta Zhang was my girl that came in. Love my girl. I would tell you from the beginning, our first couple matches weren't that great. It was like her first match coming back in from something, I think, after a while. And then for me, it was just coming back from injury and not wrestling for months because they didn't have any girls for me.
Right.
So like once I finally got in, it wasn't that great. And I'm like, why isn't this still not clicking? And then as we kept wrestling every week and training and constantly just doing it every day, I just started getting it. And I'm just like, wow, like, why was this so hard before? Why was I not getting it? And honestly, the past couple years now, like literally this past year and a half, I feel like it's just the most clicked from the experiences that I took back from OWE and from going from OBW, learning from Al Snow, learning just all this stuff. It's really helped me become a better wrestler, physically, mentally, like everything. It's amazing.
You know, Joe, that's a good point that I wonder your perspective of, you know, we talk about this person or that person going and wrestling here or there. But what we don't actually kind of talk about is what Maz just mentioned, and that is taking that time to learn from a guy like Al Snow or, you know, other people who are veterans who might even be training guys at schools. Is it something that, you know, guys should, and I know, you know, guys will take advantage of if they're on a show for you and there's, you know, a special guest who's doing a seminar. they'll do the seminars. Is that very important for the young kids learning, and even some of the veterans, to absorb the knowledge when they can?
I think it's extremely important. It's the most important thing. You can never get enough knowledge from people, especially people who've been there and done that. You know, there's too many people that have done nothing in the business and they want to train and run things and stuff like that. You know, our crew is always somebody who's done something. Like, I remember when Disco Inferno kind of first came in and trained, and there was a lot of people like, oh, Disco Inferno, you know, he's a joke and blah, blah, blah. It's like, this dude was
actually missed Disco Inferno. He was one of my first trainers, so yeah.
You know, and, you know, if you ask Clutch and Sugar Brown, they'll tell you that Disco's their favorite trainer. He's like, no nonsense. And it's like, Disco's not the most outgoing, happy guy. He's not going to be like, hey, everybody, I'm Glenn. Hey, but when you know him, he's going to talk to you. And a lot of people, I remember some of the younger kids were like, oh, yeah, you know, I don't come with Disco's here. He's kind of an asshole. It's like, well, we're not, you know, how many times do you go to a school and do you want your teacher to be buddy? You want your teacher to be good. And if he happens to be more outgoing, that's great. But I know there's plenty of good teachers that weren't the how hi, it's so great to see you. And that's the problem with a lot of the younger kids. Like, I remember when we were first doing shows, and some of the younger kids that were on the shows were complaining that, you know, like, the big name guys, like, didn't come up to them to introduce themselves. And it's like, are you fucking out of your mind? It's like, automatically go up to somebody. I remember when we had Superfly Snuka, like, he came into the Bags dressing room, and it was like all these young kids that happened to be on the show, and like nobody was like, here, Mr. Snuka, would you like my seat? Like, they would just sit there and it would just go right over their head. It's like getting knowledge. You know, the worst seminar from a WWE guy is still better than 90% of what you're going to learn from. And it's like, you know, you see that with people that have made it, the Chris Bays, the Crosses, the Hammerstone. You know, I with Toa, you know, he goes around and he talks to people, and he's very humble, and he's a big dude, but he got trained by Rikishi, and Sefa got in his ear, and he's the guy. The thing is, a lot of people are content being, hey, I'm a main guy at FSW, and that's fantastic. And being a main guy at FSW or girl is way better than being the main person on 95% of the other independent companies. But that's not your dream. Nobody's dream is to be the FSW heavyweight champion. You know, Kevin Cross wanted to be a WWE superstar. So Hammerstone wants to be a big name superstar. Chris Bay threw all the eggs in the basket, couldn't keep a job because either he was going to be a big star or he didn't know what he was going to do, you know? And it's those people that are hungry to be better, to get to that next level. And you see too much of that complacency, you know, with our students. You see guys, yeah, they'll come train 2-3 days a week, but that's it. They come when training starts, they leave when training ends. Then you got the Nick Xanders, the Brett the Threats, you know, guys like that they're always around, always trying to absorb, you know. Not saying that the other guys can't be good or become really, really good, but you could see the passion of somebody that, oh, I can't make it today. I got to go do my shitty job that I can't stand. And it's like, really, you get sick days. If you really want to be here, you probably could call in one of those days or try to switch your schedule. We have numerous guys that don't make shows and don't make training. Oh, well, you know, my work schedule. It's like, oh, so you want to be the cashier at Target, or do you want to be a professional wrestler? Because you don't miss any days at Target, but your goal is to be a professional wrestler, but you're never here.
Yeah.
And we got plenty of those guys that they can't make training, But the day there's the show, they somehow were able to get out of work.
Maz, what are your experiences with that aspect of trying to, make yourself more known, get more matches in, but at the same time, you do have to still, at least early on, have that secondary job. How was it for you in terms of, dealing?
Yeah. That's why. Okay, so that's why dudes never got paid. Okay, love you, Joe. But so let me explain something real quick. So I agree to disagree, but I highly more agree with Joe. But to the aspect of like the situation that I was in, I literally, I was working 5-6 jobs, and I had my full time, my 2 part times, my on call, my seasonal. Like I had all of that, and I was working 7 days a week, like 3 of them during the. So I had to keep cutting it down, and then I started getting to, like I said, I did the training once a week, but then once I was able to start doing the advanced class, I tried to be there as much as I could. Then I was starting to be there religiously. I went through a really bad, crazy breakup. I was either asked to either choose him or wrestling. So I left our apartment, and it was pretty crazy because a couple of our wrestling friends had to come and save me because it was a hostage situation.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I left my apartment, my dude, and then I even quit my full-time job after because I thought I was gonna actually be going to Stardom. This is not Joe's fault, surprisingly. This is somebody else that used to train there that promised me that I would be going out there. So I left everything, went homeless, and then it didn't happen. My passport came late, but it was okay because I wasn't even ready. Like, they wanted ring name, experience, and everything. I didn't even know. I was only a couple months in. So since I didn't have a job anymore and didn't have anything, I just started religiously. I was in training religiously, like all day, every day, doing ring crews for PPW, 3PW, like GFW, like whatever, or not 3PW, GFW, and just everywhere that I could learn and get experience. But then it got to the point where I couldn't pay my dues, and it was just starting to get bad and stressful, and I got tacked on my jobs again. Then it was hard for me to train because I had to make up all these bills and then finally start paying rent again. And it was just luckily a couple wrestlers took me in when I left my apartment. So it's been a crazy strive. Just depending, there's those that could take days off or actually have those days to come in and train, and they choose not to, and they'll wait until show day, then they show up. Or if we're clicked in with Ring of Honor, having a show taping with Impact or something, they'll show up, but then you don't see them at training. And right. I see that and hear that a lot too, and it's annoying. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, if I had the time, I'd be in that ring training every day. But right now I got my house, so it's I'm not trying to I got fired for going to OVW every week, but good thing was I lost a job, but I came home with the OVW championship belt because of how much I was willing to sacrifice just to be there. I knew I could have got fired, and I said, screw it. And I did it because this is what I want to do. So I've made a lot of sacrifices to get to here and there. I'm on thin ice right now with my job at the gym, and I only work part-time right now because I've been traveling now a lot. So it's a hard situation, but you could see and tell who's really passionate about it. And then you could see those that are half-assed and feel entitled that, oh, I went to training today, so I should be on a show. No.
Right. No. And how is it for you now that you have people who are willing to fly you out and come to our show, and it's isn't it crazy? I mean,
it's overwhelming, to be honest. I've literally been to 13, 14 different states within the past few months, and it's been wow, the Lord's been blessing, because the other years was really bad, and it's wow, barely making my rent right now. I'm still there because most good companies right now are flying me out, but there's some where I'm still trying to establish myself or get out there. So I will have to put in some money for it sometimes, or work with them with my pay and my flight. But mainly now it's been like, oh, this is how it is getting booked for flights and hotels and like being like able to explore the stardom life. Like I got flown out to Miami this past weekend, and it was on my birthday, and I felt amazing. I only spent $20 the whole weekend I was there. Like they really took care of everything, like, and it was just amazing. So I'm like, this is stardom life. Like this is where I need to be. Okay. You know,
Hey, happy 43rd birthday, by the way.
Excuse me.
You don't look a day over 39, just so you know.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks. Oh, you're so lucky. I'm trying to be nice today. I'm too pretty to be mean right now.
Joe, what does it mean to you to have a champion going into other places, and at least you get some kind of shine on the company with knowing that people are looking at her as a champion when she's doing her work in terms of meeting.
I just wish he would give me better opponents instead of just Sandra freaking Moon all the time. Like, can I actually get some actual, like, women like that actually have done some things, some experience? Like, that's who I need to be working. But I get Sandra Moon all the time.
Oh, you mean like Katarina?
Katarina was cool. She was all right,
Didn't
I
you
love her. Yeah, I love her. Yeah.
And everybody always forgets. That's the one good. Nobody ever gets anybody. Oh, I don't get any matches.
Watch. One. Well, no, never mind. What am I saying? Sandra's never gonna get my belt. Huh. Never mind. I'm gonna hush my mouth. Sandra, you're not getting this belt, girl.
That's a good point, Joe. I know that you've talked before about the fact that there's not a lot of women in the Vegas area who, you can call on. So how do you determine what goes into giving Mazzerati that experience that helps her elevate to the next level?
Well, being that she went to OVW, she made some connections. So we had the Haley James girl and Jocelyn Navarro, and a few of the girls from there came out. And, in California, there's some girls there. And we have some of the really, really younger girls, the Alice Blairs, the Dana Lynns. We got Bryn Thorne in Arizona. But it is difficult because there's such a small group of women wrestlers. Now you take that small group, and now you got to cut it because some of them, at least for me, aren't good enough. And just because you're a woman, I'm not putting you on the show because I need a woman. You got to at least be capable. And they're not all capable. And, it makes it difficult. I was extremely disappointed in the last FSW Women show. I just felt like, there's more talent out there, but what we utilized wasn't it, and that's why we moved the women's show to do it SummerSlam weekend, because there was a lot of people that want to be in town and are going to be in town. So now the card's stacking up and there's a lot of talent that's going to be there, so
but yet I'm still stuck having to wrestle Sandra Moon, and there's all these other women that are going to be at the show.
Yeah, they all requested, as long as they don't have to work you, that they said they'd be more than happy.
I would make them relevant.
Allison Danger even said she might come out of retirement for that show.
Oh, she could stay in retirement.
Well, let me ask you, Maz, about one of the best things that we're seeing start to happen in pro wrestling, and that is the opportunities for African-American females to break through. As we saw, WrestleMania has a main event with two of the most talented women who are also African-American. Is this something that is just inspirational for you to see? And do you realize that as you grow, you're going to be influencing the next generation of those girls watching you?
What's crazy is I was actually watching when you talk about African American, I was actually just watching Rod Simmons again yesterday, winning the belt for the first time as the first African American. So I thought that was really, like, I got chills and I got emotional rewatching it. Yes, when I watched it, yesterday or 2 days ago. I thought that was amazing. Nowadays, I think it's great that, you know, we're picking up over here, especially the African American women. Before they said, oh, we have too many Black girls on the show, or like we already have a Black girl or whatever. Now the case is, so before it's like, oh, we don't need that many. Now it's like, I guess they already took too many now, and it's just like it's kind of just but it's great to see that there's a lot that are actually being utilized. There's a lot of African American women's champions now. I highly respect that. I still have to deal with me being compared to Kiera Hogan, compared to Sasha Banks. I was even called Red Velvet. Yes, we are all 3 different shades. We are all 3 different body shapes. You know, it makes no sense. Different color, Red Velvet. She ever wear, like, what? And Kiera Hogan, she's got ass for days. Like, where the, like, you know, I mean, then you got Sasha Banks with her cute little self. Like, we're all different, and it's crazy. All you see is Black and a little bit of attitude. But, you know, we're all different. Our personality is so different from each other, and it's annoying. Like, like, yeah. I'm still dealing with it.
You know, no, that's a great point. And through that kind of thought process, let me ask you about having Strella around. Have you been able to kind of be the big sister figure for her?
Yeah, I'm definitely the big little sister. I am the older one. So it's been great. Sometimes I get a little crazy though, so she has to be the one to tame me, you know. But she is amazing. Teaching her all the things I know, you know what I'm saying, you know. Not all the cheating. Maybe.
Except her dog. Her dog's annoying, right?
Yeah, screw her dog. Her dog's a demon, by the way, just to let you know. Her dog is always up in my room, just trying to terrorize things. Well, my angel, how ironic, the fans always want to bark at me like a chihuahua. I do have a chihuahua. And so,
Strella's dog is so annoying it made Felix move to the East Coast.
I'm dead. I'm ready to get out too. Shoot.
You know, he would tell me how many times that the dog would just go into his room to take a crap in the rug.
Yes, I'm so annoyed by her. Like, she is so lucky. I am not an animal user, but I look at her. She knows. She just knows. She done fucked up. One day, I'm just gonna take that dog and just, who knows? I don't know. Just set her free out in the park.
Don't be saying like things like that. It'll be on record.
She's gonna find me. Come in and slam me.
Joe, when you think about how Mazzerati has progressed, is there one moment or match that sticks out in your mind when you started to realize she's got it, or is a favorite match or moment for you?
Like I said, I couldn't tell you who it was, but it was when she came back from China, and it was probably the first match back that she had, and it was like, wow, she's actually pretty good now. Like, when did that? You know? And, you know, from then on, you know, she's had some good matches, you know, along the ways. And she's really represented, obviously, because, you know, she's been getting the opportunities. You know, this isn't the first time that Ring of Honor has chosen to use her. You know, they've used her on different occasions. So, you know, it's not easy, even though people seem to believe it, regardless of the fact that Kenny's in Ring of Honor and D'Lo's doing the Impact thing and stuff like that. Everybody has knit friends and people they know, you know, so that's not getting you in the door. it might get you to where somebody may take a little bit of a notice of you and may look at your stuff where in the past maybe they wouldn't, but you still have to impress them to get anything. You know, right. Maz isn't getting booked on shows because Kenny King said so, but they'll take the Kenny King recommendation to say, hey, let's look at her. Let's see what she's doing. Oh, she's an OVW. Oh, she's doing this. Oh, she's traveling, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, that's going to get you the opportunity, you know, and the key then is now you get the opportunity. And if you go out there and shit the bed on the first opportunity, you're probably not getting the second, third, and fourth opportunity. So, you know, in some cases, I've even seen it where I've talked to some people and they were talking about WWE tryouts and things like that. And even at the Impact tryouts, we were there. You know, there were guys that got to wrestle in front of Impact, and the guys they worked were fucking horrible. So they had a shitty match. Like, you could see some of the talent the guy had, but you couldn't really see much because the guy he was in with was so shitty, it didn't matter. Right. You know, it's like sometimes you only get that one chance to impress. So when you do get that one opportunity, you got to make sure that, you know, you're at your best, because you never know if that opportunity is going to happen again.
What do you think, Mazzerati, was your favorite moment or match, or something that, you know, you look back on and you go, hey, this is this is a moment I really appreciate this. And it doesn't even have to, is it FSW or elsewhere? What are your thoughts on, you know, favorite match or favorite moment?
Actually, the moment probably was years ago at the Silverton. There was a couple that came in from Sweden, I believe. And he was like the national soccer goalie. And I think she was like a big time model in Sweden. And they had a TV show in Sweden where they would do different things. And they decided they wanted to wrestle in a match. At the time, Bugatti and Maz were like, you know, they're the first couple of FSW, the guy and the girl. And they had and they all had to put in a lot of time and effort because these two had no knowledge of how to wrestle. You know, he had an athletic background, which of course helped. And, you know, and she was aware of things, and they put together and they had a really good match on the opening of the pre-show at a big show at Silverton that we had. And they got to be on TV and they got to do some things. And, you know, being as inexperienced as Maz was, she was still having to teach this other girl who had no idea how to do it. And shockingly, the match was actually pretty good.
Wow. Mazzerati, for you, what would you feel is your favorite moment or match?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask her what her favorite moment was.
Dad. We'll get that. We'll backspace back to that. Yeah. No, the Polish one, that was actually like what? I think that was my first like big thing at FSW that was going on, and it was really it was a nice privilege to be able to do that. You know, being able to, especially with my experience back then, I was still like pretty like rookie-ish. So it was just really fun. And I would do it again with more experience now. But you're saying what was my favorite moment and match? Is that what your question was?
Is there something that sticks out to you?
I taken too many shots to the head, so sometimes, you know, I forget. Wow, actually just recently. Okay, so first, one of my favorite matches has to be at OWE with me versus Zeta in our first ever Making History balloon match. So
what's a balloon?
Yeah. So it's on my YouTube channel. You can see that. But it is God bless them. So they they had asked, oh, okay, we're going to have a fun match. You guys are going to do a balloon match. We're like, cool. How does that go? They could not answer what the heck a balloon match was, but they wanted us to do a balloon match. So let me tell you that the creatives, they're not wrestler like producers. They're writers for TV and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, so that's all you're going to give us is the balloon match. Okay. So you know what? We're workers. We can figure this out. So we made it to where we put 3 balloons on one side of the turnbuckles. So I got red, she has blue, and it's 3 and 3. And it was kind of like Mario Kart, who could pop all 3 balloons first type thing. So we would just fight and try to pop a balloon here. You know what I mean? And it was you're definitely gonna have to watch the match. It's probably one of my favorite ones. Very creative. You know, Nick Bugatti was there by my side. He may have helped a little, you know, or maybe helped me win a little, but you know, who's counting? But yeah, that was one of my favorite ones. That is definitely my top 3. The second one would be me versus Remy Marcel. I don't know if you saw that one recently, but I feel like that was just something I was able to really like. He helped me get up to, I don't know, like, how do I explain this? Like, that match just helped me push me to my level and get better, if that makes sense. You know, people like Sandra Moon and other girls, they get the intergender matches all the time. And I feel like because of the way I look, nobody thinks that, like, I was a tomboy before wrestling, by the way. I wasn't makeup and girly and all this. This is now me because of wrestling. But I love getting hit. I could take a punch. I'm from the streets. I used to fight all the time, let me tell you. So, like, I just think people look at me and think, like, I'm not down to do intergenders or hardcore matches and things like that. You thought, no, that's exactly what I want and what I love. So being able to do that intergender match with Remy to show that I could go as far as, you know, Lacey does, because people look at Lacey, she's, you know, she's got the full package. But I would be compared to her like, oh, well, you know, you're cool, but you're not wrestle like Lacey. You're not like, you got to wrestle like her. Like, it's like, why do I got to wrestle like her? She's wrestling like her. Let me be me. Let me wrestle like Mazzerati. You know what I mean? So it was, I just felt like that match really just showed that I could do both. You know what I mean? And I don't need to be compared to anybody. And then after that match, actually, I was requested to do a lot of other intergender matches. So I did one with Slice Boogie, and he wanted to do the same stuff that I did with Remy. And
you're welcome. You're welcome.
I bet you didn't want that, Joe, until you saw it. Then you were like, oh, wow, they could actually go. But yeah, I know it was fun. Everybody's like, oh, you could do Ronda's off the top. You could do this and that. I'm like, yeah, but it's only if I could trust you. You know what I mean? Right. But now, right now, oh, I didn't even add my ROH matches on my top. But yeah, so my number 1 right now has to be the one with Sandra Moon. As much as a pain in the ass she is for me, I have to say she really pushed me to my limits at the FSW anniversary show recently. Man, I feel like that was one of our best matches we've ever had together. We've like clawed and toothed each other like for years. And, you know, I feel like that one really pushed me to my limits. I feel like just looking back at it, like, wow, we made magic. And the crowd was just so mad that, you know, their little Sandra Moon didn't win. But definitely one of my favorite matches ever.
Joe, in listening to Mazzerati talk about intergender matches, have you ever considered the FSW heavyweight champion versus the FSW female champion?
I have not.
Hey, do I hear Moss 2 belts again? Moss 2 belts? Okay. I'm ready whenever, Joe. Look at this muscle.
Actually, there was a time when I was contemplating doing an intergender title versus title match.
Wow.
At the time, Nick Bugatti was actually the No Limits champion. And through the travels of Nick and Maz, they had a lot of interaction with the Mazzanis. And we were thinking of trying to, because Nick and Gina did a lot back and forth fighting and stuff like that, that at one point we were thinking of putting the belt on Gina Mazzani just for the sole purpose of her having a match with Nick in a title versus title match. That's because it would be something that was probably never done before.
Right.
That would have been great, actually.
Yeah, it was around the Beers and Body Slams time when we did stuff, and it was like, that would be like the perfect gimmick match for that type of show.
Yeah. Maz, let me ask you, you know, we've brought up Bugatti's name a number of times. What did Nick mean to you in terms of your experience in growing in wrestling itself?
Nick
Oh,
is
I can
definitely
answer that. He held her back for so long that she finally got to step out on her own. Because of him, she couldn't even win matches. Now that she's tossed him to the side, she's doing it by herself. She doesn't need anybody.
Damn, outing me like that. Shit. No, yeah, he carried me a lot. I learned a lot from Nick. He has definitely helped me throughout the whole time. Wow, it was almost 5 years with the power couple going on. Nick has been doing good. He's actually upstairs. But he is just taking, you know, everybody needs that mental break away from wrestling. So he's been just trying to revamp himself right now. He does send his love to everybody, but technically not really love because he don't give a shit about any of y'all, you know. Yeah.
Well,
you know, y'all need us. We don't need you. But no.
let him know
But,
Brandon G needs a win. Let him know Brandon G needs a win. So.
When Nick Bugatti comes back, he'll be coming back with all them W's, them wins, baby. No more L's. That's why he's gone right now. He's trying to better himself. So when he comes back, he's gonna be like champ here, champ there, champ in that state, just like me. You know, I'm about to be Maz 2 belts again soon. Watch. Then 3 belts, then 4. Watch, Joe. We are champions up in here. You need us. You need us.
Well, Joe, you know, we'll get to Maz's favorite moment or memory of you, but what's your favorite thing about Mazzerati? What is it that either you love having her around because of, or is there a particular story that you just kind of enjoy about Mazzerati?
I really love the arguments that we have. You know, she's got a lot of hatred, you know, that you know, after she's done, it's like, you know, I love you, but it's always but. You know, as most wrestlers, they always feel slighted, not appreciated, underloved.
Got that love hate.
You know, so it's always fun, you know, having to go to the school and have to sit down and conversate about 30 minutes about why she feels that she's being slighted and all that good stuff.
I would be so frustrated all the time. I really felt like Joe just hated me. And I'm just like, what the heck? Like, I'm doing all I can to be here. And I'm so frustrated. And I'm like, he just doesn't like me. And I would just feel like so like defeated all the time. I'm like, I'm never going to get anywhere. And then we would have these sit downs and like these back and forth, but then we came to, it's funny. It's, I don't take these arguments back.
It's same thing from Oz for you. What's your favorite Joe story that you have?
Gosh, I don't even, well, I guess, you know, when I came back, so I think it was Cody that was a commentary or somebody. I guess when I came back from China, you know, Joe obviously didn't think I was good yet. And then once I did I think it was my finisher or something like that. I did something and then all of a sudden he goes, oh, she's finally got a new move. And the way he said, like Joe talks though, is just really funny. So I'm hearing in the way he says it. And I'm just like, damn, this man, he never believed in me until now. And then finally surprised that I could do a move, because Maserati was just always so shitty and doesn't do anything, I just beat the crap out of you. But, I did something cool, and he actually thought I was worthy. I thought that was funny.
Joe, what did that call actually sound like?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
That was almost 4 years ago. You want me to remember?
Yeah. It was a long time ago.
But her saying that, yeah, I kind of believe it would be something I would say, so I'm definitely not denying that, try to add a little sarcasm in with stuff that, offends some people and whatever. I'm me. People who know me know how I am. They know how the reasons how I say things and what they kind of mean. And unfortunately, it takes some people a very long time to understand my sarcasm, my self, quote unquote, New York attitude that people like to say. Always a lot of truth sprinkled in. So to some people listening, it's probably not a shot, but to the inside community of FSW, they know I'm throwing a little dig at somebody that they probably deserved. So I get the opportunity to pop the boys and girls in the back sometimes.
And
my favorite part, my favorite moment with Joe, though, is at the anniversary show, I finally got paid.
Well, actually, you did get paid at one of the women's shows. And secondly, thankfully, we had a sponsor. That's why she got paid. So, yeah.
And
he didn't really want to sponsor the match. He really wanted to sponsor Sandra, but we kind of combined it. So Maz didn't feel as bad.
This is wise. Take that.
Maz, as we wrap up here, I got to ask you, you put in all the work and you finally get the opportunity to win the belt. You're getting it right after Lacey Ryan, who goes from being champion to being in NXT. What did it mean for you to finally be able to be trusted with this position of being champion?
Actually, I thought it was great. I'm like, oh, wow. I was surprised, to be honest. There's one thing, though, that I wish that could have happened. And same as for OVW, when I won the championship there. I'm somebody who's really big with moments, memories, stories, the whole works. You know what I mean? Belts is just an addition to what, you are and what you've done. So I feel like I wish I could have actually had a nice little like meaning towards it, since I was just in a scramble for the OVW championship belt and I won it, which was cool, but I felt like there was no build to be able, like, me earning it, you know what I mean? And then for this one with me and Lacey, I wish that we could have actually had one more go. Not just me just come in after both our matches and then her being my ass before Estrella comes in, you know what I mean? So it would have been, Estrella could have came later, but I mean, I wish we could have had an actual one off. And that was just the one misfortunate thing, because I'm somebody who wants those memories and those moments. And that's how I feel like, that's why me and Sandra Moods match at the anniversary, I feel like that was just so great because of how long we've been fighting for this together, and just the crowd just really being emotionally invested in it. That's just what I liked, and the chanting and just everything. Like, that's what I would have loved, is just a little bit more of the moments between me and her before she had left. And
I 100% agree. You know, the issue is that's what happens when you have a lot of talented people, that you can't dictate when somebody's going to go. Like, we didn't know Lacey was going to go for a few months. Like, I was shocked that they signed her that quickly, because usually it's such a process.
Yeah.
And for like a week after the tryout, she goes, yeah. I'm like, well, yeah, it's definitely going to be a while before they do anything. And she's like, well, yeah, they scheduled a conference call with me in 2 days or something. And I'm like, fuck. They're not doing a conference call to say, hey, you did a great job. We'll talk to you again in 6 months. It's like they're doing a conference call. She's getting signed. And then she got signed, and we were actually going to do the ceremony by, you know, she was actually there in the office, but she wasn't allowed to come out to the FSW crowd. And it was like, then 3 days later, she was on television. So, you know, it was crazy. But moving forward, you know, moving forward, as great as the anniversary show, and she wants to talk about moments, you know, I can announce right now that at the FSW Women show, it will be Mazzerati versus Sandra Moon, but it is going to be in a match that has never been done in the women's division, and we'll wait to discuss that. But it's going to be a very big moment. You know, we think we should have, you know, a lot of people there. It's going to be something that win, lose, or there can't be a draw. So it's just win or lose. That it will definitely be a moment. And for FSW, it'll be, you know, the first time in history that we did it. A few years ago, we did a last woman standing match. And so I can tell you it's not going to be that. And unfortunately, it didn't really come across the way probably a lot of people hoped. You know what I mean? I think these two, they are like been around FSW since the beginning. You know, they watched Maz, you know, be a valet and transition to being a wrestler. They watched as Sandra Moon went from the kids class to being, you know, a top-notch women wrestler. So it's a lot different than Hudson Envy and Heather Monroe, that as good as they are, they're not FSW. And you know, I always talk about that with the fans, that they'd much rather back in the day, like they were happier to see Mike Delight than they were to see Brian Cage, because Mike Delight was their guy. And it took Brian Cage being on shows over and over for them to buy into Brian Cage and Sean Ricker being FSW guys, like Hammerstone and Graves are. So this is like, you know, two of the first women of FSW, and they're going to battle in, you know, hopefully what's going to be a match that people will remember for a long time.
So Maz, it sounds like that Joe is booking you and Sandra Moon in a balloon match.
Well, shoot, I won the last one, so you know, I already know how to win.
She's undefeated in those.
I'm down for any match. Bring it, any type of match, Joe, and I will win. I don't need nobody. Stella could be there. She don't need to be there. I'll win.
With that in mind, Maz, any final words for the viewers and listeners today?
Yes. Just you know, follow me, love me, support FSW because I'm there. You know, that's the reason. But yeah, no, just, you know, keep pushing. You know, people are going to tell you you don't belong here, but if you believe you do, who's going to stop you? Only you.
Yeah. And
so
Joe,
I can do it.
Joe, any final thoughts from you?
No, you know, we're less than 3 weeks away, and we got 3 huge shows going on. You know, it's a different show for different tastes. You know, if you like that UFC MMA style, we got the Natural Born Killers on Friday night. If you like GCW, we got a joint show. You know, now it's like you're rooting for your team. So you might have to root for the lights, camera, faction in a match if you're FSW. Probably not, but you might. And then we got the women's show that's going to feature a lot of new talent that have been making the rounds throughout the United States that a lot of people haven't seen before, you know, anchored by, you know, the two biggest homegrown FSW stars we've had. So, you know, there's a lot going on. You know, I think I'm going to be sleeping under the ring that weekend. That way, you know, I don't have to, you know, give up sleep time, because it's going to be, you know, from beginning to end. We're even trying to figure out if we can do a SummerSlam watch party, you know, in between things for people to actually check out the show, you know?
Yeah, it's an exciting time. Mazzerati, you are, you know, just one of the most talented people out there who's doing it. I highly encourage anyone listening or watching, if you haven't checked out her matches, the FSW Network, $6.99 a month. You'll be able to see, you know, a catalog of Maserati's growth, and that's
you get to see some of her really shitty matches.
I was about to say, you're going to see the worst of times, and you're going to see the best of times.
and some of those mediocre times. So, yeah.
Oh, snap. Oh, off wrestling topic, though. You will be, I know that you guys have seen Maserati on Netflix, but pretty soon you guys might see a female with attitude on the Disney screen. So stay tuned. Just want to, you know, let you know that Mozzie's going to be a star. Wait, what am I saying? Wow. I am a star.
New show, The Black Mermaid.
Oh my gosh, I really should have been. Damn, Joe. I should have been that Black Mermaid.
I know. I'll tell you. Netflix, what was that show about? I don't remember. Who was that girl?
I can't. Shoot. Oh, man, that Warren Stories thing, you know. But, you know, this next one's going to be better. Just watch. And other big things in wrestling coming up, guys. I just can't say anything. You know, I'm just saying it right here in front of Joe just so he knows how valuable I am.
Yes. Yeah,
so
make
Joe,
sure you get there early today. We need water for the swamp cooler, so if you can get that done before training, we'd really appreciate it.
Oh, look at the time. Ooh, I gotta go wash my weave.
Yeah. You and I. Go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna say, go say hi to Estrella's dog for me.
Ugh. I'll keep her in her room.
Well, with that, we will wrap things up here today and allow you to get back to weave washing and dog pounding, I guess, beating up the dog.
And weed smoking.
Don't be outing me like that. Don't be
it's
telling
legal.
my business.
It's legal now. It's okay.
Don't panic. It's organic, okay? God made the birds and the bees, awesome wrestling, and these trees. Hey.
Yep.
That's what I'm coming off to.
That's it.
Yeah, Maz is accepting sponsorships from the cannabis places around town. So
I need my medication.
You know, if you need a champion to represent your company, give me a call and I'll work out the deal for you.
Oh, Joe's gonna be my agent now.
Yeah, I'm a better business.
Money.
I'm a better business person than you. Don't worry, I'll get it done.
Oh, thanks, Joe.
Well, for all my bud tenders at Essence and the Source, those are my main places I go to. So let's talk the next time I'm in, and let's get this sponsorship going, because there ain't nothing better than making some green in whatever form that green is. So, all right, everyone, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you. I'm glad I made y'all relevant.
Yeah. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Bye, Joe.
Goodbye.